Hey guys, I see we're back in the bathroom today, and well, it's just me with all the excitement that was going on with bathroom checking in on me and Bill Cosby. I actually originally never actually talked about the reason why we had the idea of things that people have forgotten about. So today's gonna be just me. Welcome back to the bathroom. Make sure to sit down, wash, flush, wipe, and today's soap of the day is petrol, specifically petrol made from a Chevy Blazer or a Eclipse. I forgot what it was actually. So this story was something I heard about on a podcast while I was driving home through Madison Ave. They were talking about how there was a whistleblower within GM who actually talked about things that were going wrong, and it was kind of shown, proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that this company knew there were problems, and then they like retaliated against the whistleblower, and then they're like, hey, yeah, so our cars are less safe, but that's not really our problem, type of deal. And then the public found out about this, and there was like outrage for a little while in 2014, but then after that we just kind of forgot, and people still drive Chevys, Cadillacs, well, Chevy Cadillac, or yeah, Chevys, Cadillacs, Fords, but GM overall, wait, I forgot which car GM makes, so ignore some of the ones I said. I think it's like Chevy, and I keep saying Chevy, Dodge, Ram. Might be another company actually. Regardless, so people still buy those cars, and talk about these companies and what they're going through, despite the fact that hey, they went through this a few years ago and people forgot about it. So back in around 2003, 2008, there was an issue with an ignition switch let me look up exactly which car that was. I almost forgot what it was, and I saw it. I have to look at my notes for that. Chev, who cares? It was some type of car, and then there was an ignition switch, which, you put your key in the car, you turn that shit on, and you drive to McDonald's. If this was a faulty switch, if you had a heavy enough keychain, it would actually turn off, or it would get moved in a position in a way that would shut off the car's engine, steering, braking, and even the fucking airbags, the electronic airbags. That's insane because, not only are you going to crash, but you're going to crash and guaranteed die. There was like 13 to 15 crashes that happened because of this. And before we get into the whistleblower, I'll talk a little bit more about GM and this entire situation that was going on. So during the time they were being owned by the government, and because of that, it was after the crisis, not 2008 financial crisis. It was like something, I don't know, some financial crisis. They were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and to those of you who don't know, Chapter 11 is when you reorganize the company. You're like, hey, we got a bunch of payments coming in. We got a bunch of people, Uncle Sam demanding their money, banks demanding the money, just freaking Uncle Jimmy demanding the money. They're like, hey, hold on. Let me figure out my stuff, and I'll pay you back maybe eventually, hopefully. And then so they're like, okay, fine, we'll stop collecting interest and all that. And then you're like, okay, you like retreat to your room, you like pull up the books, you balance the books, you crunch the numbers, you punch the numbers, and then you figure out how to make things work. So I wonder if there was a little bit of speculation in an article about maybe the stuff with ignition switches. Management didn't care because they're like, oh, we're in money mode. We're in like, we got to figure it out. We got to fix things. We got to turn this around for us mode. Instead of like, hey, we make cars and they can kill people. Maybe we should be worried about making sure we have good cars. It's kind of what I was thinking a little bit about what's going on recently with Boeing, how they became more of a company all about the idea of making the money from their planes rather than being like, hey, let's make sure these planes are good, and less of an engineering culture, more of a business culture. So I wonder if there was a little bit of that at play. They were worried about, hey, let's get out of bankruptcy. The cars are something else. They even said that despite the fact that it was potentially, I think, a 90-cent solution to fix the faulty ignition switches, that across all their vehicles, GM thought it was too expensive in an internal memo. And because of that, they decided not to do it. Because I think it said that while it would save 90 cents per something, it would only save 15 cents per warranty cost, and then they didn't think that was worth enough. Basically, all those people who died, they're like, hey, that 15 cents wasn't worth your life. If you want to look a little bit more about the value of human lives when it comes to big numbers and big people and big places. And, the crazy thing was they were actually owned by the government during this time. The government were the people getting the money, but, I imagine that both the GM's shareholders and people who own stock options in the company really wanted to get them out of the company, because if the government owns your company, you're not making money off stock options, and then the majority of your pay is stock options. If you want to keep being rich, you got to get out of the company's dollar off the you got to get off government welfare so you can start making your own real money. Like, what are you trying to do? Just live a regular life in Section 8 housing? No, you're trying to be rich, you know? That's why you need the government handouts, so you can get rich, not so you can live a decent life and have equal rights and equal access to a facility that everyone else does. Because don't forget, when rich people use government money, it's to help the American way, help the American economy, and also their paychecks. When you do it, you're being lazy and you're just, trying to live. What are you doing trying to live? You're not helping people with that. You're not helping me. But that is how we get to the whistleblower. Now, the name of this whistleblower was, let's see, what was the name of the whistleblower? Kelly. Cortland Kelly. So in Cortland Kelly, they didn't just find issues with the fuel ignition. They found issues with a fuel link in the Chevy Trailblazer as well. And then so they were telling people, like, hey, we got these issues. And then people are ignoring him. His superiors are ignoring him. He went to the government. He's pushing it through. He's like suing the company for not taking this seriously. And also, he also sued them for defying whistleblower protection, which they clearly did, because they were moving him around to other departments. They put him in like a purgatory department where there was very little chance for both more compensation or even just responsibility. So they basically, well, I know some people, myself included, would love to work somewhere and get paid to do nothing. But the problem is you're still there and you're still like technically working. You're basically being paid to be bored, which is actually worse than working, I'd say. At least with working, you have skill and stuff you can do and stuff to talk about. But, GM did this, and the public knew about it, and we seem to have forgotten about that, and that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And if we want to talk a little bit more about corruption, the government was slow to act, because in 2003-ish, GM come up, okay, dude, what they did with the solution is also stupid, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But this happened in 2003, and it wasn't until 2014 where they managed to do an investigation and find them guilty. And what they do, they give them a nice little $35 million slap on the wrist, which, to GM is absolutely nothing. That's a part of cost of doing business. Like, think about it. From 2003 to 2014, that's close to 12 years. They pay $35 million. So $35 million divided by 12 years, they paid about $2.9 million a year. That is nothing. That is nothing for loss of life and just a huge, huge decrease in responsibility. Not only that, the aforementioned fix that they had, GM made like a part thing to fix it, and even that, it was below specifications. It could still shut off the ignition switch, but they didn't label it. They didn't give it a part number. So they sometimes they would bring it in and they would fix it, but because there was no part number, and then they looked pretty similar, they would bring it in and they would fix it, but they might fix it with the old faulty issue. Like, what type of company just doesn't give it a part number? That's so easy. I could have done it. They could have just had someone just say, oh, fix number 3, and it would have worked. Like, can you imagine that they just brought it in a vehicle to fix, and then they fixed it, but then they put in the same part that's the problem, so they basically just exchange it with the identical part, and then someone still died because of that? I think when you think about business problems versus engineering problems are based on the product, while business problems are based on the money. And here there was the money being thought of, not the engineering and make sure the car was good. So I just wanted to bring that back to light and talk about, hey, we forgot. Time to remember again. Anyway, this has been In the Bathroom. Make sure to wash your hands, flush, wipe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace. It's not the same with that bathroom.